Hello, welcome. Just a moment, we're going to be proceeding with our dungeon crawl. I figured out my mic issue and the volume looks a lot better. The problem was that OBS was reading from my webcam and it doesn't make that visible in any way. I had to figure that out by unplugging my webcam, and then suddenly the sound started working. Oh well. We've got a few things to work on today. This is the day 5 plan now. We're going to finish up server-side combat. Last time we implemented the combat handler, and it doesn't work. I can't actually remember what's broken about it. But I do remember that the issue we were running into was because the mob... Oh, I remember now. The mob here doesn't offer us any way for us to access it on the server and the client side, to refer to it on the client server and the client side, because what we tried to do was we tried to get the, let me see the RPC handler, we tried to get the ID of the target, and the way that we were doing that, is this in the input handler? We right click on it, we get the ID. Geez, it's been, I've taken a break for too long and now nothing makes sense anymore. We were getting the ID of the object. We were getting that from here. I think collider is an object. In any case, the ID on the client and the ID on the server are different. And I figured out the solution. There is a solution. That's the purpose of the multiplayer spawner. When you spawn something with the multiplayer spawner, it will give an ID, and then it will distribute that ID to all clients. And it will be responsible for making sure that that is up to date, I believe. We just need to have the spawner spawn some mobs for us instead of just having them in the level like this. That I'm not 100% sure on, because my next steps, one of the steps that I wanted to take was adding mobs to the map, adding objects to the map. I don't want to have to spawn them outside of a tile map layer. So I don't know how I'm going to solve that problem. And I need to be cognizant of that as I'm implementing the RPC handler here. But what we need to do for now is we go to our game. On ready, we're going to add a mob. That mob is not going to be this. This is going to get separated out into its own scene. Copy. New scene. Change this to a character body 2D. Call it mob. And this is probably wrong, because if I press paste, yeah, okay, it gives me another mob. Excellent. Let's make this the scene root. And then let's just delete this one. Delete. Why are you mad? The root node of a scene is recommended to not be transformed, since instances of the scene will usually override this. Reset the transform and reload the scene to remove this warning. But what? Can I just make a new scene? Paste. I don't particularly care. This should theoretically work. We can get rid of this. We don't have to save it. This we should save as mob. And then we go back to our main and get rid of this. So the multiplayer spawner is spawning players. This one is spawning players. We just need another multiplayer spawner to spawn mobs. Multiplayer spawner. Okay, we got a spawn path. I don't know. It's been so long, I don't remember what any of these do. The multiplayer spawner, we're passing in a what we can do is create a script and then I'm just gonna like copy and take the logic here. Mob. Why does this extend multiplayer spawner? I don't know. Does this extend multiplayer spawner? It does. Okay. It's just the name of the thing. Look at this logic. Called when the node enters the scene tree for the first time. I don't think we need to do that. We will create a function spawn mob id int. Wait, where's this coming from? This is actually what I want. Is it the synchronizer? Is the synchronizer given ID? How are we calling spawn player? Oh, it's okay, we're connecting it and it's getting an ID passed in from the multiplayer. Okay. So we want to spawn a mob. And we want to have the spawn path be to the game. That should give us the same node that we had before. No spawn limit, auto spawn list. I don't particularly follow what this means. Element 0. Why is network player here twice? Okay, let's just go to the docs. Godot, tell me about the multiplayer spawner. Automatically replicates spawnable nodes from the authority to other multiplayer peers. Okay, spawnable scenes can be configured in the editor through code. Also supports custom node spawns that respawn, calling the spawn function on all peers. Okay. Internally, multiplayer spawner uses something, passing the spawn to node as the object itself, as the configuration, and multiplayer blah 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 to notify despawns in a similar way. So this has two signals, and we're not. We don't. We're not using those signals at the moment. Spawn function? No. We got a spawn path and a spawn limit. Spawn limit is 0. Spawn path is the path to the spawn route. Spawnable scenes that are added as direct children are replicated to other peers. Here's a bunch of functions. We're using ready. Okay. Godot, multiplayer, spawner, how to use. How do I use this thing? I just need to have a basic. I just need to spawn, honestly, just one bat. That's it. It can be done on server start. I think that's fine for now. We want that to not be the case because I'm going to want to have spawners. I'm going to want to have respawning, mob respawning. Not helpful. What is this auto spawn list? What is the purpose of this when this exists? Why did I do it that way? I mean, I did it that way because the tutorial taught me that, but why did the tutorial teach me that? Network player. Get node spawn path. Where is spawn path? Oh, spawn path is that. Okay, call deferred. Add child player. Object handler dot add mob player. Okay. I'm not seeing where this is happening. Is there something going on in the network handler that is relevant? It doesn't look like it. What about this? We're not even saying spawn player here. It just is happening automatically. That's kind of weird. We're not doing it here? I guess the way this works is when the game starts. No. Why isn't this why does this know to wait? Don't spawn a player until you connect to a server. Because if we start, we will note that there is no player. And then we press connect and a player up happens. How does the game know that? Spawn player happens on peer connected. This thing is just going rogue. Maybe we have a func ready main dot on ready. Main has a signal, right? Ready. On ready. Drop an I. But how does it know to like replicate that to other players? Let's find out. Let's just do it and go. I'm tired of being stuck. Func ready. Game. Nope. We have this object. We have this object. We don't need to. That's what the spawn path is. It's like get node dot spawn path. Dot ready dot connect spawn mob. Before I proceed and break myself somewhere I shouldn't be, let me look at this peer connected function. It emits an ID. Okay. So that's where the ID is coming from. How do I get a mob to have an ID when I spawn it here? Multiplayer spawner ID. ID. Get spawnable scene. No, like when I spawn something, it'll call the spawn function, and the spawn function will receive the data parameter. Interesting. The return to the node should not be added to the scene with node.addChild. This is done automatically. Am I not doing that though? Like that's what this is. So if I don't do this, it still works? Question mark? Pass. I'm not ready for you. Yeah, we have no, there's nothing. There's no one. That must be referring to something else, because it's not referring to this. Go over here. Okay. I'm just confused as to what this spawn function is. When a custom spawn is requested by the authority, with data passed to spawn function on all peers, returns the locally spawned node instance already inside the scene tree and added as a child of the node pointed by spawn path. Godot multiplayer spawner spawn. Let me just try adding the mob here. Okay. Is this the kind of thing where, like, if I define the spawn function in the mobs, then I don't need to do anything. This doesn't need a script. If that's the case, then great. Where is the spawn function coming from? Custom spawning logic in Godot multiplayer games. Allow you to pass specific data like position or setup parameters to the spawn scene on all. Define the custom spawn function. This function should take an array of arguments and return the instantiated node that you want to spawn. Assign the function to the multiplayer spawner. In your ready function or setup code, connect the custom function to the spawner's spawn function property. That's weird. Isn't that what this is? Okay. Godot multiplayer spawner. What is the auto spawn list? The spawn path nodes that are allowed to spawn and synchronize. There are no default spawning processes. Multiplayer spawner is a spawner. You need to instantiate scene via script so that the spawner would replicate. So this kind of demo is not possible. Basic synchronized server. Multiplayer node with the monolithic script. That seems useful, but not easy. Okay. It's a whitelist for automatic replication, ensuring only specific predefined scenes are synchronized. Okay, so basically, this says only spawn mobs. And then this also says, here's the mob. I don't entirely understand why that is. Why can't I just go spawn this guy? And then I don't need this. Anyway, we get the node at the spawn path, which is the game. We connect spawn mob, func spawn mob. This won't give me an ID, so I am not entirely sure how I'm supposed to get an ID. Did I already try and search for that? Getting ID of scene. Rely on the multiplayer authority's peer ID or create a custom synchronized identifier. No, why? The whole reason I'm using this is so that I don't have to make custom crap. Like that's the whole reason. Like otherwise I could just write my own synchronizer and no ads, no AI. Multiplayer in Godot 4, scene replication. The original meta search engine before Google. Server runs the following code. Turn your spawn pair function to a custom spawn function for the multiplayer spawner to use. Okay, so that must be what this is talking about. Basic setup of a multiplayer spawner can only instantiate a scene to its default settings and set its name. By using a multiplayer spawner's custom function, you can perform some client-side setup, but most usually opt to setting the node name to the peer's multiplayer ID and reading that node. No, we can't do that. Gosh, okay. No, I looked this up and it was very, very clear that like you got to use a multiplayer spawner to synchronize the IDs. I didn't think that meant you also have to create the IDs. Godot multiplayer spawner synchronize ID of object of scene. I mean, this looks like the video I want, but I'm not watching a 30-minute video. Set the spawn's node name to the ID or use a multiplayer synchronizer to sync a unique identifier property. When spawning, ensure the server names the node with the unique ID. Stir peer ID. I mean, I was doing that for this, but that's because the ID was getting passed to me. And it's coming from this function, which provides an ID. But I can't reuse that ID because the player is already assigned to that ID. Do not sync object at get instance ID as it differs per machine. Yeah, I know. Assuming that an instance ID is a unique number assigned to each object when it's created and doesn't know about networking synchronization, it'd be impossible to sync those. Right. Given that each peer can create client-only objects and therefore generate IDs, how can it guarantee those IDs won't collide? Probably could be achieved in some okay, this feature doesn't exist and I have to make my own implementation. Okay. Then what is the point of this? What is the mob spawner doing? What is the multiplayer spawner doing that I couldn't do? Like, okay, let me just break down a little. Get spawnable scene count. Returns the number of spawnable scene paths. Do they have a connected users count function? No. I mean maybe in multiplayer. Godot multiplayer function. Where is it? Here. Multiplayer API. No, there is not. Manages the connection with one or more remote peers acting as a server client and assigning unique IDs to each of them. Okay. Get unique ID. Where is that? Hold on. So I think I'm supposed to keep track of who's connected and who's not. This does not do that. Server has a lobby class and a lobby boss who listens for an RPC. If it has the correct password, it is assigned an ID from the server. But how do I get an ID? Iterate from one as they join and leave. But I'll eventually collide because the players have random IDs and I don't. I could just create a list of all IDs, but then that's. I'm trying to avoid doing that. Because it feels like I'm reinventing the wheel. And it's better to just use the wheel that comes with Godot. Multiplayer spawner. Configure where nodes can be remotely instantiated by which peer. Configure which node properties can be synchronized by which peer. I want to spawn a mob. And I'm sure I can do that. That is fine. That is not the hard part. I want the clients to be able to target the mob. And they need to know the mob ID to target. Because if I have two mobs, how will the client tell the server which one they're targeting? So we can spawn players, that's fine. How do we spawn oh no, that's where the tutorial ends, actually. It's like we can target the players because they have a peer ID and we have named the players their peer IDs. And that works. Everyone knows everyone's peer ID. Everyone can target that. But mobs don't have a peer ID. I mean, could we have the synchronizer synchronize like a mob ID? It's just doing that is. I just don't want it to collide with the players because the players have random IDs. Then I don't want to get into a situation where I'm like, all right, the next ID is 1,000,001. Let me add a mob. I add a mob. Okay, now the next one is 1,000,002. And then, but before I add that mob, a new player joins the server, and the server decides, I'm going to give that player the ID 1,000,002 for no reason. And then I create a mob, and it has the same ID as the player. I just want to avoid that happening. Set the player ID. Okay, what does it actually mean when it's setting the player ID? That is set by the authority, synchronized on spawn. And that's just the ID that the peer gives it. For ID in multiplayer .get peers. What if I just disregard the peer ID? I think that breaks. I think that breaks things if I do that. Because the RPC sets on peer ID. I'm pretty sure. Any peer versus authority. Authority is based on the peer ID. So that means if I ignore peer ID, then I'm giving up multiplayer authority, and then RPC breaks. Int generate unique ID, const returns a randomly generated integer that can be used as a network unique ID. Yeah, but that's gonna have a collision one in a million times. You only need to check the last one against the new one, so it's not a big compute cost. That's not true because we don't know when a player ID is coming, because that's coming from the network handler. Yeah. Like anytime a client joins, they get an IP, they get an ID. And there's no way to there's no way to anticipate that because it can happen literally any time. Unless there's a way for us to force peers to like be a counter as well. Because if we can do that, then we're good. Let me actually look into that. Godot multiplayer peer ID. Set that. Because as far as I know, it's unique. It has to be unique. But can we tell it to not be randomly generated? Can we tell it to be a counter? Because a counter would be great. A counter would solve our problem. On peer connected, player ID equals next player ID. Because if we do it that way, then we're good. It's got to get peers. Where is it? Is this different from this? It does have a get peers. Okay, it returns the peer ID of all connected peers of this multiplayers. So we just have to check every client every time we want to generate an ID and make sure that we're not colliding with them. And then we use a counter. And there's no way to, there's always a possibility of a race condition where like in the middle of checking the peers, a player connects. And then get peers gives us the wrong thing. And then we make a collision. But we could use this to make that like pretty rare, I guess. I don't know. Or we could just we could just check twice. We get peers, we see we don't have an ID, we assign an ID, and then we get peers again. No, because because the problem is, when someone connects, they can get an ID that already exists, because this is just giving me a random ID. I would prefer if that didn't happen. I would prefer if we just could set the ID ourselves. Maybe we can, because maybe we can just override that. Instead of returning a random ID, what if we pick the ID? Okay, that's where we're setting that. Is there a signal that this is emitting that we can just override? Or is there a function that we can override? Like get unique ID instead of that? Nope, that's not. ID. Also appears to have get unique ID, so you can reference it. Get unique ID. Am I going in a loop? Returns the unique peer ID of this multiplayer API's multiplayer peer. Peer object to handle the RPC stream. Depending on the peer itself, the multiplayer API will become a network server and will set the root node's network mode to authority, or will become a regular client peer. All child nodes. Even if you had to compare against 8 players, it wouldn't be a problem to test, but yeah, iterate your own pooling system for now. It's the kind of thing that it'll work 99% of the time, but I don't want to. I would rather spend 8 hours banging my head against this problem to get it right 100% of the time than to hack out. If this was a game jam, 99% of the time, perfect. I would just do that and move on. But I would rather get the 100%. I'm perfectly fine spending the rest of the stream spinning in circles if it means that we figure out how to override the ID of these peers, and then once we're in control of it, we can guarantee that a collision will never happen. Implement your own. Well, I want to use this. Otherwise, I would have to implement my own networks thing, and that's gonna take a lot more than 8 hours. Go old school and do a fast array with pop, push, and pull. I'm just trying to implement unique IDs. It shouldn't be this hard, honestly. One thing that I could do to guarantee uniqueness, and this is kind of hacky. I could make IDs that aren't ints, because it seems like get unique ID, well, that's always an int. But what if my IDs were strings? Never a conflict then. So what if instead we set the ID of the mob equal to server picks whatever, like 1, and then we append that with the mob. Then we have to keep track of a counter for every mob. No, we don't. We just keep track of a counter for one mob, and then we reuse it. But then that means that our ID is a string, not an int. Does that have implications? I don't think so, because nodes names are strings, not ints. The client's time clock and the IP will never be the same. So voila, your lovely forever journey fingerprinting client wars game. Time clock and IP? Well, what we can do then, we could do this for the player object too, just to be thorough. So right now we're changing the player, the ID of the player to the peer ID. I guess messing with that, there's no benefit to messing with that right now. It would just soothe my brain, and my brain can take a little right now. So target ID is that. So this is just going to be a string. We're just going to say this is a string. It might be an int, but we're going to treat it like a string. We're going to get the instance from ID, target ID. Is there a way to set the ID of a thing? Get instance ID. Returns the object that corresponds to this instance ID. All objects have a unique instance ID. Because otherwise we need a way to get node. Never mind. We're just going to use get node. When we create the object, we need to rename it. Because that's how we're doing. That's how we're able to target players right now. Right? The server can hand out a time seed by adding up all the numbers like a seed and slap the IP on the end. Yeah, if it's a string. The players. How are we? Okay, there was something that was referencing like how am I identifying which player? Was it an RPC function? It must have been. Where's my RPC handler? Set move target. Get sender player node. Ah, there it is. Okay, so we're getting the remote sender ID, and then we're getting the node with that name, and we're turning that into a string. Okay. So we want to take on a target ID. We want to do this exact same thing. Not this, but we want to do input handler.main.get node, sender ID, target ID. So that will give us the target if we have things set up. So all we have to do now is make sure things are set up. YYMMMDDHHMMSS192001. I just need the mobs to have it's not just the mobs. Everything should have an ID. So objects will need it as well. I think like terrain will need it as well. I'm less sure about that. I do want to have the ability to target terrain, but that means I need to give every tile an ID. I'm not sure I'm going to do that because I'm not going to be spawning tiles with the multiplayer spawner, or am I? As you get arseholes who hack at network games, you can play cat and mouse with more fingerprint ID data. just need to go back to the mob spawner here. So we're going to spawn a mob. I think we don't, the spawner here should instantiate the object for us. So we don't have to, nope, just kidding. We have to do that. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. Var mob equals, I can't name it that. So we instantiate the object, and then we set its name. And then we're gonna need an ID handler. I think that's just how it's gonna have to be, ID handler. Let's go ahead and make this a global. All right. Var mob counter equals 0. I should say const. That's not how you say const. Const mob tag equals mob. So we will add that to the end of the counter. I don't think we need a ready function. Is that how you use constants? I think it is. We don't need a process. We don't need a ready. Func get mob ID, return var_ret equals mob counter string plus mob tag, and then mob counter plus equals 1, return ret. Okay, then we go back to the spawner here. This is the kind of thing that only the server should have. So maybe I do want that ready function. Whatever. I don't know how to make that cleaner. We go back to our mob spawner and we go mob name equals ID handler dot get mob ID. Done. Then we just need to do this. And there wasn't anything else, so I'm guessing that's it. I gotta stop calling it mob because I'm gonna be renaming that soon. I think I'm gonna call it mover. The player and mobs are both going to be movers. That refactoring should happen soon. Let's get this working first. Okay, so we're not. This happens on ready. Is that right? It shouldn't happen on ready. It should happen No, it should happen on ready, but only when the server is ready, not when the multiplayer spawner exists. So how does that? So okay, I'm confused as to how that works for the other one. This spawner only spawns a dude when you connect. How does... That's what this is. Okay, so this should happen as soon as the server's ready. Right. Target, it worked. Target on 0 mob. So now if we walk near it, we should hit it. Let's pretend that is not there. It didn't work. We can target ourselves. Godot. That's right. We can't target ourselves. Oh no, we can. It's just that the collision box and the image are not aligned. Okay. Look at all these debugs. Oh dear, that's a lot. Let's go back to the combat handler. We're not even printing its combat time. All right, let's do this real quick. This is going to flood our thing, but we're doing it. We're not setting the target. Okay, that's the problem. That's probably because I've commented it out somewhere. Because I've left this in a state that future me regrets. Let's go to our input handler. That is where the beginning of this is. We are calling this, okay, target on blah. So we'll go to our main. To do fix this one. Oh, we never, okay, I never fixed this. That's the problem. We don't pass in the entire target. We're passing in a string. I did leave myself a to-do. I should have just searched for to-dos. In fact, let me just, give me a second. That's the only one? All right. I apologize, past me, for blaming myself. Should have blamed future me. RPC handler. We're taking in the target. It should this. Oh, well, okay. There's also that. I've blocked off that entire function from even working. So, oh nope. Sorry. Hold on. Wait a second. We cannot do anything with this flooding our eyeballs. So we're gonna go ahead and go back to the combat handler. Close that off. And shove that in the pocket. All right. Let's target ourselves. Invalid access to property or key ID on a base object of type character body 2D. Okay, so this is wrong. Why is it wrong? I'm not sure. Should be name probably. That's probably what it is. Probably should be named. I'm going to assume that's spam. Okay, crash. No. Oh, now we're hitting ourselves. Excellent. All right. Let's target that thing. Are we hitting them? Are we still hitting ourselves? It says we're attempting to strike the target, but we're not doing any damage to them. It does look like we are taking damage, but they are not. Okay, so it's not fully functional yet. I'm assuming this works, so we're going to remove that to do. We now need to go to the combat handler. We're printing its combat time. We're checking the attack cooldown. It's actually not cool of me to have put check attack cooldown also does an attack. I should not have done that because that's going to make my brain hurt when I'm trying to debug this. Let's go to our components. We should just make strike target happen separately. This will I copied the function so I wouldn't typo it. So I should respect my past self and actually paste check attack cooldown. Okay, but why isn't this working? We're attempting to strike the correct target. We're attempting to strike zero mob. Let me open up a thing. Let me verify that that is zero mob. I'm pretty sure that's working, but I should check. Put that aside. All right. Get this out of here. Okay. Remote. Tell me about this game. There's zero mob. Yeah. Okay. Is the target's hit? That's not the game. That's not the game. This is the game. It looks like nothing is happening. We're not losing hit points. Our opponent is not losing hit points. So that tells me that's probably an authority issue. That's an RPC issue. Let's go strike target. What are you doing? Are you calling an RPC at any point? We're calling subtract HP. Oh wait, we don't need to call an RPC because this is the server. We are the server. We called an RPC to set the target. Let's make sure this is working. Go back. Okay, we're setting a target. Receiver, zero mob. Sender target, zero mob. That's not correct. The sender target is not zero mob, actually. The sender is... Okay, so my function is wrong. All right. Oh no, it is right. I just named this wrong. I just named this dumb. This is correct. This is correct. Component.setTarget. Target. The component is the component from the sender player node. Okay, that looks correct. This all looks correct, actually. In the mob, I'm pretty sure we're not doing anything funky. Yeah, we're not manually setting the target. Are we manually setting the target? Were we manually setting the target for the mob at some point? Maybe not. No, we weren't. That was being handled in the player object. Yeah, it was like down here. It was this function that was like mob punches us if we stand too close to it. does our current combat component handle range? It doesn't. It needs to. But first, let's figure out why we're not doing damage. All right, I need to see it again. Client, move this out of the way. Okay, is this something where, like, if I watch on a different screen? Oh, wait a minute. I know what the problem is. I never put a synchronizer on the mob. Let's go do that. That's right. I need to do this. So we're doing damage to the mob, and then we're not telling the clients that we're doing the damage because this object, that's its job. Add property to sync. We want to sync position. Position. There it is. We want to replicate on change. I don't know why you would ever not want it on to whatever. We also want to sync the health component. Health. I guess we can sync max health too while we're at it. Okay. And then the health component. There's a health. Why is it not showing up here? Is it because it's a float? Oh, because it's not exported. Okay, but it's still there. Trust me. All right. Doing that should fix it. Okay, we got our mob and we're hitting it. It's combat time. We're attempting to strike the target. Okay, if I strike myself, my hit points get updated. Oh, wait. If this guy strikes me, my hit points don't get updated. That's strange. Nothing's getting updated. Well, that's weird. Combat component is calling this function, right? Subtract hit points. Let's see if that's actually happening. I'm sure it is, and the problem is that we're just not synchronizing. Yeah, no, we're subtracting a number. That number is happening. Why is this debug number going insane? Ignoring delta for non-authority or invalid synchronizer. Why is that happening in such a large degree? How does this work? Okay, so I'm a little confused that this attack that player. Oh, is my hit points? Are my hit points being updated? They are. Okay, so I am taking damage. I am being attacked. And if I return the favor... Yes, we are both losing hit points. Okay, but if I right-click on this guy... No dice. They're not taking the damage. That says to me that the synchronizer is not doing something right. The root path is the game, Is that true? Should this root path be the game? It can't be. If root path was spawned on a if root path was spawned by a multiplayer spawner, the node will also be spawned and despawned based on the synchronizer visibility options. What if I just set these to always? I'm sure that's a bad idea, but what if I did that? Does that fix the issue? I hit the mob. Okay. Let's look at our mob. What's going on with this? Where's our hit points at? We got a health component. Max health is 10. Okay. So this should be a very visible subtracting HP left equals health. We should see that number go down. 10, 9. It shouldn't have gone to there. It should have. Oh, it's because I hadn't subtracted it yet. Okay, so the hit points are going down on the server. Do I need to like? I think the synchronizer is going to hit this, and we are emitting this signal. Let's verify that now. We emit the HP change signal. So we emit the HP change signal. We should be seeing that 2 times though. One on the server and one on the client. If multi dot is server okay, just to check. Right, okay, so that tells me that, I mean, obviously the value here isn't getting updated, but I mean, it should spawn. What does this mean? Let's compare this to the synchronizer that we know works. Wait a minute, what? This is setting game health? Game doesn't have health. What is this doing? How does this work? Do I have a synchronizer in the player? Oh, I do. Great. Why does this one work, but the other one doesn't? Root path player. Okay, hold on. What is this even doing? Can I just delete this? Okay, and then let's verify that that is, yeah, okay. Can we still punch each other? It'll be so glorious once we get the UI not dumb. It's still hitting the player even though like we are targeting the 0 mob. That's very strange. It says it's targeting the 0 mob, but we're hitting the player. What a strange bug. Why would that be? Is there something wrong with the combat component? Like, we can't change the target if the target is already set. Attack target. This should always work. Oh, we're setting the target, but we're not setting the health component. Oh, that's the problem. Oh, I thought I was being clever. Blah. Oh, wait a minute. No. We do that. We just need to set this to null. And then this will automatically hook us up with the right health component. When we change targets, could we just do this now? Yeah, we could. I think actually we want to. This will okay. So this will return null if there isn't one. So we're good. We're done. Just checking. This will return null if there's no get. So that is the behavior I want. That is the behavior I want. This will either be the correct health component or it'll be null, and then this will check. If it's null, we'll try again, and if it fails, then it will fail as gracefully as possible. Okay, so was that the problem? No, that wasn't the problem. That's why we were hitting each other. Okay, we can see our health going down. Now let's switch targets. And the health is no longer going down. All right, that fixes that problem. Doesn't fix the problem of the little bat doesn't take damage, but that one's tough. So we got this multiplayer synchronizer, player position, health component, max health. These are set up correctly. These are also set up correctly. Why is... Where's this delta receive happening? Acquired object RP child. I'll Google this problem later. Let's figure that out another time. Back to this. All of those look the same. All of those look the same. The only thing that I can think of that's different is this mob spawns when main is ready. It doesn't spawn when the player spawns. So it exists before the player connects to the server. So, let me check. Is it called zero mob on all 3 instances? Okay, remote. These are players, I'm assuming. There's zero mob. Can I check that on the other 2 instances? Like if I click here, okay. And if I click here, you know, I don't actually know. We're targeting them, so we must know their name, but oh. Okay. Yeah, no, they're called, it's called zero mob in all 3 cases. Let's go into the combat component. The attack target is null. And likewise here, the attack target is null. And in the zero mob, yeah, null. No health bar, okay. No health, there's no health bar for either of them? That must be the server. How can there be no health bar? What? There's definitely a health bar. Anyway, so we've targeted. Let's look at the combat. No target still. Interesting. Oh, that's the mob. Okay. No target here. No target here. If we look at the zero mob, what is its health at? It's still 10. Is this being updated? Do I have to refresh this? There's the health bar. Why is this null? There's no attack target health component. Okay, let's go to our debugger. Yeah, these are just 0. Is this useless? Oh, it's getting updated here. Okay. Now those are all correct. This is the server. Okay, so it's correct that none of this should be updating like that. In terms of, we're not calculating damage on this thing, but the health component should be getting updated. And it's not. And we look at this. Root path is not nothing. Root path is okay. I mean, these all look the same. So on the server, this thing is dead. It has no health. It's dead. But on the clients, this thing still has full health. What if we try punching each other? Yeah, we see it going down. Okay, I'm pretty convinced that this is an issue of the spawner has spawned this thing and the players don't get to see this. Godot multiplayer synchronizer synchroning. Oh, could it be an authority issue? Everything should have an authority of the server. The server is the authority. So we target that guy. And the server is like, I've updated. I don't know like what's the issue. Let's check the multiplayer authority of this mob. It is 1. That's the server. Yeah, no, the server has authority over this thing. Oh, wait. How is it 0 now? What? But it's 10 on the server? Oh, okay. This is the server now. These are the clients. Because if I look over here, yeah, that thing still has full health. It's not an issue of authority. It's not that. Gotta sneeze 1 second. No, it's going away. Just kidding. Incorrect authority settings, invalid node paths, or improper initialization order. Syncing before the node is added to the scene tree. The node is on the scene tree. I can see it. It's definitely there. And surely the server holds authority over the synced properties. Use the multiplayer spawner for dynamic objects and verify that the root path is correctly set to the spawned node. Wrong authority. Path issues. Initially. Late joining players may not see updates. Ensure the multiplayer spawner is correctly spawning the player and that the multiplayer synchronizer is active. What does that mean? Does that mean I have to use the player's multiplayer synchronizer? Am I doing this wrong? Godot multiplayer synchronizer. How does it work? Nope. Give me the docs. By default, the multiplayer synchronizer synchronizes configured property to all peers. That's the best sentence. Visibility can handle directly with set visibility for, or as needed with add visibility filter. I don't know what any of that means. Multiplayer spawners will handle nodes according to visibility of synchronizers as long as the node at root path was spawned by one. Okay. Yeah. We're spawning with the multiplayer spawner, so Internally, we use object configuration add to notify synchronization start passing at the node at root path as the object and itself as the configure. Okay. Not supported for object type properties like resource. Properties that are unique to each peer, like the instance IDs of objects, will also not work in synchronization. Okay, well, we're not doing that, so we're good. Okay, let me actually stare. What does visibility update mode actually mean? What does that mean? Specifies when visibility filters are updated. Thanks, Godot. We can either set it to be idle, where it's updated during process frames, physics, where it's updated during physics frames, or none, where it has to be updated manually. I'm actually not opposed to doing that, because we will know every time that these update. Whenever we change the hit points, we call update. Whenever we move, call update. We can do that. But for now, I can leave this alone. I'm actually looking at the wrong one. That's the player one. Let me look at the mob one. We're calling this from main. We got this mob spawner. What if we spawn the mob when a player connects? That's real dumb, but what if we test that? Okay, great. Whenever a player connects, spawn a mob. We get no mob. Did a player not connect? Or did a mob get spawned? What is that? How is that? Where's my mob? Mob spawner? Hello? I guess we got to do this. Okay, yeah, that was the problem. It's calling a function that doesn't exist. Okay, now if we attack this, okay, I'm really glad that's not the problem. I'm really glad that eliminates that problem, but that wasn't the problem, so keep trying. It's not this. This is not the problem. We should make sure that we're not spawning this if we're not the client. Oh, could that be the problem? Actually, could that be the problem? Because the clients should be getting the mob from the server. So if they're instantiating their own mob and I'm attacking that, then I'll never know because it's that's not getting synchronized. But no, that doesn't appear to be relevant. There's a lot fewer of these going on. Okay, the debugging continues. Late joining players may not see updates. Ensure that multiplayer spawner is correctly spawning the player and that the multiplayer synchronizer is active. Verify that you have explicitly added the properties in the properties section of the multiplayer synchronizer inspector. Instead of trying to sync input variables, have clients use RPCs to send input to the server. The problem is that this is the server sending out to the clients. I don't want to use RPCs to do that. If the synchronizer is nested inside of a child node, ensure that the root path property reflects the path relative to that child. Could this be a thing where, like, the multiplayer synchronizer is down here? No, I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. Maybe move the health component up here and the combat component? I don't know. That seems like a stretch. That seems like I've lost my marbles. We emit the HP change signal, but we are the server emitting that signal. Unfortunately, that doesn't count. Can we only make that connection if we are not the server? For Dick and get signal connection list on change. Value and max value. I don't know. We certainly shouldn't create a health bar for the server. So we got a health bar here. That should only get created How are we making that connection? Did I do that through here? How is this getting... Oh. On health change. It would be better to only have this for clients. I'll need to think about that. To do exclude from server. But anyway, that's not what I'm trying to debug right now. I'm trying to debug is the stupid synchronizer. Do I need to like respect the name of the spawner that's spawning me? I don't imagine that's relevant, but what if that was relevant? Like, do I have to call this multiplayer mob synchronizer? That seems unlikely. You know what's going on, man? I'm just trying to get this synchronizer to work. Let me demonstrate. So we can see down here that everything is working on the server. And if I target this mob, we'll hit it. And it's actually losing health on the server, but it's not losing health here. But you know who is losing health? Players. You can hit players, you cannot hit mobs. See our health bar going down. That's because we have 60 health. This thing has 10 health. We do 1 damage per hit. But you wouldn't know it by looking at the health bars. I'm trying to figure out why. So we've got this multiplayer synchronizer, and this thing is responsible for synchronizing health and max health. And that's fine. Then we've got this mob, and it has exactly the same thing. Actually, no, yeah, it is exactly the same thing. But it doesn't work. Couldn't tell you why. Print rich color orange authority occurred. Where am I printing that? I mean, we can see here the HP is being subtracted from the mob. We are emitting the HP change signal, but not on the client side, on the server side only. So it's very, very distinctly an issue of this multiplayer synchronizer. It ain't doing the thing that it's supposed to be doing. It has one job. It's not doing it. Alright, and then if we just spawn some players to beat up on this mob, and then we go here. Warning. Where did that come from? That's random. This mob has 10 health. But on this instance, the mob is dead. But on this instance, that mob still has 10 health. Multiplayer authority is 1, which is correct. The server has authority. We can see that. Health component is here. Wait a minute. Does health component not have... Wait a minute. Does health component not have a health thing? That's a health bar thing? No, that can't be. What is the difference between this and this? Wait a minute. I think I found something. We've got this variable here, but there should be another variable, health. Okay, go away. We've got this variable health right here. Why is that not visible in the editor? Am I not supposed to synchronize this? No, but wait, the player has that variable too. It's the same thing. Why would it work for the player but not the mob? Hold on, let's go back. Put that down. Put that down. Okay, we got health component. If they've got a member health and health bar, health isn't a member. Maybe it is a member because it has a getter and a setter. But, well, here's the health component for a player. Nope, that's not a player. For a player, 60, 60, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't export this value. Could that have an effect? Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense why that would have an effect. Let me go to session 2. Health is 0. Health bar 0. I just don't follow why it works for players, but not the mob. Okay, is there a way to like emit a signal, multiplayer spawner, connect, emit signal whenever the variable updates? Whenever the spawner, okay, let's look at the spawner. Multiplayer synchronizer. What signals do you have? Delta synchronized? We don't have a, wait, no, we have a mob script. Where did it go? Where did that go? It's random. We could do like func ready health component. No, multiplayer synchronizer dot connect. Stop it. Func ready multiplayer synchronizer dot connect. Nope, that's not how that works. We need to call delta synchronized dot connect delta sync func Oh, I'm sorry. Of course. You can't fix the bug that you just caused. It's still happening. All right. No delta signal is happening. Let me go to here and verify that the characters are targeting the right thing. Oh, they're not. The players are not targeting anything. Wait a minute. Is that right? That might be right. I'm not synchronizing that, so never mind. Whatever. Let me check it on the server side, though. No, it should be right on the server side. I don't know what that's going to accomplish. Is this the server? That was the server. Okay. Yeah, and this thing dead. Is this doing anything? Can I adjust this? We've got a delta sync function and a others function. What is this supposed to be doing? Synchronized? Why is this? It's not doing anything. This is doing nothing. Public visibility off. There's not. It's not. It's not. There's nothing. Where's the? Hello? Where's my synchronize? When does this thing do anything? What if I don't track this? Does that change anything? A. Does not appear to have changed anything. No. Okay. What if I also turn that off because I don't know what it does? Okay, no. And then what if I change the root path of this to the health component? We're only synchronizing the health component. Let's add a property. All right. Nope. Okay, and then what if we go back to this? What if I go to my player and I try and add a property from the health component? I also don't see health. Okay, so that's fine. Not great, but fine. Okay, what was the other? Wrong authority. Oops. Sorry about that. Wrong authority. We've verified many, many times the authority is correct. Root path in the synchronizer must point to the node containing the variables. If using a multiplayer spawner, ensure the synchronizer is a child of the spawned scene. Oh, let's just verify that. Okay, and then we go in here and we look and we see that there is a multiplayer synchronizer and it is a child of the mob. And if we look in instance 2, yeah, it's still there, and the authority is correct. What is here? Okay. How do I, where is my authority? The spawner? Oh, this guy is not connected to anything. Okay, yeah. It's like everything uses the server as authority, but no, there was one thing that wasn't assigned to the server. It was the rectangle. It was the color rect. Why? Wait, why is this still multiplayer authority? That shouldn't be. Actually, that should not be multiplayer authority of 1. I don't know. But anyway, we've confirmed that there is, in fact, a multiplayer synchronizer in the mob. And that is a child of the mob, so we're good. Late joining players may not see the updates. Ensure that multiplayer spawner is correctly spawning the player and that the multiplayer synchronizer is active. Okay, so how do I make sure this is active? What does that mean? Is there like a signal I can check for? Like active. Yep, I'm doing a thing. I'm not a waste of RAM. Please don't delete me. Properties not added. Make sure you've explicitly added the properties in the properties section. Okay. Use RPC for input. Instead of trying to sync input variables, have clients use RPC. That's not helpful. If the synchronizer is nested inside a child node, ensure that the root path properly reflects the path relative to that child. Okay. You know, it is curious that there was a mob on one of the clients before they connected, because I thought I'd turned that off. Yeah, if you are not the server, return instantly. Do we need to defer this? Is server. Come on. Where is this function? All right. Let's just, that's not working. Let's just go here. Print. This is the spawn player function. This is the wrong function. Multiplayer dot get unique ID. They're all the server. They haven't, their server hasn't been started yet, but they're all the server. So all of them still have this mob, even though. Well, that's not good. What is the network UI even doing? Start server. Okay, it's calling start server. Create server. Is there a way to say multiplayer dot I exist? Like, don't. I'm either a server or have connected to something. Call deferred thread group. Am I just looking? Is this is just a node? Okay, that's useless. Show me the multiplayer. Multiplayer peer, get peers, RPC, set default object. This is not correct. This is not correct. I don't have 3 servers. How did we spawn 3 mobs? What is the actual function I want? Okay. I can understand everything having the ID of 1. I can understand that, but everything being a server? No. This should not be on that. Let's change this just for now. Okay, that should not result in 3 mobs spawning. Well, that resulted in 0 mobs spawning. Oh, God. Okay. On ready. Whenever a peer connects, call the connect. No, hold on. Oh boy, Godot netcode. Yay. Peer connected. That is the function we want. Oh, I'm looking at the, there we go. Whenever a peer connects, spawn a node. Why doesn't that work? Why does that not work? Does the spawner need to do something? Could this be a problem with the mob spawner? The network. Network handler. This might just be a thing where, like, I just have to read a million billion pounds of documentation and then the answer will not make sense when I find it. But I don't know, like, I'm just staring at code that doesn't make sense and I'm literally copying this function which works. Does the mob spawner have the right scene in its spawn list? I hope so. Let's try again. Throw that away. Oh, we didn't spawn. I mean, this will work, but the problem is that we're all servers, apparently. We spawned 3 mobs, 3 servers. And I don't know how to prevent that. The net umpire should be a singleton. I mean, yeah, it is. So This is a bug that I am familiar with. We don't need to worry about that bug. Just need to figure out where the mob is. There's the mob now, but the problem is that everyone has their own freaking mob and they're not getting synchronized. Could this be something where we how am I stopping other things from the clients doing them? So the handlers have a thing. I have a handler initialize. Start server handlers. I could just here say, no, I can't, because this is the network handler. I can't do anything here. I can't reference the game from here. The game object. We have a peer. We create the peer, and then we remember the peer. But if we don't have a peer, it just defaults to saying you're a server. Peer. I don't want this function. Get out of here. Get out of here. Okay. So let me just check. I should be able to see that there is a signal hooked up, right? I can't see signals in this. Never mind. I don't get to see that, but imagine if I did. Can I see other signals? Select a single node or resource. I'm doing it. No. Is there a way to see signals, like, at all? Node not found mob relative to root game. Yeah, that's because it hasn't been spawned yet. But why is that? Oh. Right. That's true. Because we haven't spawned the mob yet. And all this means is, no, that would screw a lot of things up. We don't need this at all. I don't need to add the mob yet because the mob doesn't exist yet. So we'll just get rid of that. In fact, we might just delete that line because the mob should be adding itself here. It should be registering itself here. Is that why? Hold on. Actor setup. Call deferred. Set movement target. Let's just grab this function. Let's put it here. So now when we make a mob, it automatically registers itself. Was that the problem? I doubt it. Well, it's not even spawning right now. We can short circuit that just for now. Go ahead and switch back to this. All right. Right click. No. Nope, we're not attacking it. I mean, we're not getting updates. Because I'm pretty sure there are 3 mobs, 1 on each client. And the synchronizer cannot synchronize all of them. It can only synchronize 1 of them. Maybe we shouldn't be spawning the mob in the spawner. No, that's dumb. That's exactly where it belongs. What am I talking about? Is there a way to say, call this when a server is created? I believe what we can do instead of all this pass, we can go to our network UI. Just kidding. We can go to our network handler, start server. We can't spawn creatures here. We can't do that. We got to spawn them in the spawner. But maybe there's a way we can be like on server start. Do a thing. I mean, I believe that's what I'm trying to do. That's what this peer connected is. Let's go back. Let's see what are all the connections we can make. Multi dot connected to server, connection failed. Peer connected, peer disconnected, server disconnected. I mean, what if we just go in the network handler and we emit a signal and then we define a signal here. Signal on server start. Is that not how that works? How do I emit signal for fish? It's emit signal. Okay. Sorry, it's not emit. Ridiculous. Argument 1 should be string name, but it is a signal. Whatever. Network handler dot on server dot connect spawn mob. Okay, so now when we hit that server button, we spawned a mob, but only one mob. Oh, and it's there. Oh, and we're hitting it. That was the problem. That was the problem. Okay. All right. Oh, and why do I have this pass here? The problem was that we trusted this function here. If not multiplayer.isServer, we trusted that this would only return true if we were actually running a server, which is false. It will also return true if we're not connected to anything at all. If we're just living our best life, not doing anything, we're actually a server. Who knew? But no longer. We don't believe in that. We technically don't need this line because we're only calling it on the server start. This whole thing is going to get refactored when we figure out how we're going to spawn like the map and how we're going to put mobs on the map. But also I need to refactor mobs just in general because they're not going to be called mobs. They're going to be called movers. And then the player is a subset of that. Yeah, we're hitting the mob. Just to check, this is a multiplayer game. We got to make sure. Yeah. Cool, we killed it. Let's get rid of all of these print lines. We can leave those. I don't need any of this at this point. Get that out of here for now. Got a movement handler, but we're not handling movement. Was that the next thing on my to-do list? Clean up the player and add an attack target. What? Why did I write that? There's already an attack target. I think by clean up the player, I meant rename it to actor. Make the actor superclass. Yeah, we've deleted. Oh, I should get rid of in the RPC handler. Don't need this anymore. And in the command handler, input handler, that one. All right. We still have to figure out how to make pathfinding suck less. Oh no, that's real bad if you can't get through this gap. Okay. Enough being sad. We're gonna say that is all working okay. Let's clean up the player. We've got a base. I'm going to make a new scene. How do I want to do this? Because the whole idea is that I am defining these folks by by composition. So like this thing has an attack. Where's my player? This thing has a health component. This thing has a combat component. That's what gives it health. That's what gives it combat. We can't do that with the movement component because the movement component is intrinsic to the character body 2D. But we can just create a character body 2D and then assign that to the player. Turn the player into a node. I think that would work. And then we would just write like the movement code to localize it to the character body 2D. We need to take out all elements that are not movement out of this, basically, so that we can expand them to mobs. Oh, what I probably meant by clean up is just delete all the comments, because there's a million billion comments. Okay, so we want to create a new, I'm just going to make a new scene, a mover. That's not how you make a new scene. Character body 2D, you are a mover. And a mover needs collision. True. You need these things. So we need to copy from mob. Paste. The sprite is something that is defined by the sprite frames, so we need to define that another way. We'll need to do that anyway. We can't hard code the sprite frames because I would like to have more than one mob in my game, please. Players, we could have gotten away with hard coding that because maybe we only have one player, but with this wonderful graphic, but no, we will have to define that. Let's get the test art for now. Placeholder person. That's not how that works, actually. All right, great. We have the mover script. We're going to take this target move. Okay, so a mover has a target, move target. So set movement target. What does that do? Navigation agent 2D target position. Oh, okay, that's just for navigation. Got it. So we do want to copy all that. We'll just copy all of this for now. Put it in the mover. We will take things out that don't make sense to be in the player. Attack cooldown doesn't even belong in the player. Neither does a range. Oh, we should add range to the combat handler. Let me do that right now. We deserve to do that. var range float. Am I saving? Not the right thing. That's not what I'm meaning to save. Okay. We need to get the distance. Oh, I deleted that code. We need to get the distance to the target. And I had it commented out and I deleted it. Can I just... If blank position distance to, okay. This thing has a position. So I can just... if self.position, if attack target dot position dot distance. What do you mean? Can you not be useless, Godot? Pass. Okay, can you help me out now? Thanks. You don't know what an attack target is? Look, it's a node 2D. dot distance to self dot position is less than range. Wow, stopped at, okay, fine. Yeah, save the mover there, that's fine. I just want to see if range matters now. It doesn't. We're definitely at further than 60. Print. What is this value? Oh, it's 0? Oh, that's amazing. Wow. All right, what if I do get parent? Invalid access. That's not a thing. You can't get parent. Dot attack target. Oh, I'm sorry. I did the wrong thing. That's what I meant. That's what I want. Okay. I don't want to call get parent. I never want to call get parent in my life. Is there a way for me to tell whose combat component I belong to? I'm calling get parent right here. What's wrong with a little get parent? A little get parent is okay, right? Am I doing it in my health component? I'm doing it there. All right, let's just do it. Get parent. No, you're definitely in range now. What's the range? Print that. I'm confused. Okay, the range is 92. The range is 61. Now we're in range 36. Oh, it is working. Why weren't you working before? 91. What? Is this guy not where he looks to be? What is going on? Is there something wrong with the mob? Why is the mob off center? Position. Transform. No, that's not. Could the sprite be off? Oh, the sprite's probably off. Position. Yeah, that's off. Get back there. You too. All right. Oh. Why is that happening? Okay, try again. Server, client. Get this out of here. I should fix that. That's bugging me enough. Okay, and if we go over here, we're actually something not right. We should be able to hit this thing if we're adjacent to it. That's basically the goal. I'm going to assume because it's not on the grid, that's the problem. And that we'll fix in the future. Let's get back to moving this mover. I need you to be reset, and you also to be reset. The sprite picture's not lining up. Weird. Don't know why that is. So instead of the player having a movement thing, we can, okay, we don't need this anymore. Target loc equals vector2, vector0. Target loc rect equals color rect. This will be null unless we are a player, basically. Or it should honestly just be null. Oh, we need a navigation agent. Okay, we need to grab that from the player. Copy. Paste. Do we need a multiplayer synchronizer? I think we do, yeah, to update the where we are. So we're just concerned about moving. Get that out of here. Get that out of here. We don't need a point light. That's just there for now. We don't need a camera. This looks like it's done. So we could just go into the mob and attach the mover to it and then delete that. Delete that. We keep this, but we're only updating the health component. Okay, and then we're changing this to a node 2D. Okay, let me go to our player. Do the same thing. Cut this out, and this. Then we add a mover. And now we're a movable player. Change type. Okay. I should be able to just scrap all of this. No, we need this ready function, but none of this we need at the moment. Okay, let's keep the target loc rect. No, wait a minute. That's in the mover, isn't it? It is. So let's just get rid of it for the player. Get rid of that. Get rid of this. We keep that. Let's get rid of this though. Actor setup call deferred. Get tree physics frame. Okay, so we wait until a physics frame happens, and then we set the movement target. We don't need to do that, actually. We don't need this. We don't need this. It's all handled in the mover. All right, this should break. Can't call hide on a base. Right. It's like this should still break with the mob spawning. Cannot be called character body 2D. No 2D. Yeah. All right. Oh, we can't click anymore. Probably because we need to call the player, the player's mover, not the player. That's probably what we're doing. This I don't think we need to touch. It's the function that is processing the command. Command param.actor.target.moveGraphic.mover. Or we could just create a generic object. No, it needs to be mover. But that's not defined. That's actually, we need to like do that. Does that even work? Do we call this a mover component? And then we go down the route of registering the mover component? Maybe we do. All right. Okay, copy this. Func register mover component. Okay, rename these. Okay. And then we go into the mover component and we say, hey, you're responsible for registering yourself. But only on the server side. Okay. Okay. That means that now we can go to the main, and instead of this, var mover equals object handler dot get mover component. All right, something like that. Nothing. Big if true. Let's print mover. It's not even registering my clicks. Input handler, you should be registering my clicks. All right, we have a player, right? That shouldn't have changed. We should still have a player. Oh, wait a minute, because I modified the player. Does that mean the spawner is confused? This is not where the spawner is. The spawner is here. Okay. Multiplayer spawner, FYI, I'm still here. And that, wait a minute, because I can see, like, there's a player. No, I have a player. I exist. Oh. Oh, we moved. Okay, so, okay. This is just because I was being sloppy. We're not registering with the input handler because we were doing that in here. That's not true. We're doing that in here. Input handler dot register player self. Okay, but we're looking. Okay, so here's the problem. We're looking at our name. We should actually be looking at the get parent name. Does this have the same ID? Non-existent function target move base node 2D. Right. I mean, that's not great, but it works. We should be accessing the mover component, but this does work. Okay, target move graphic. Why is that non-existent? Didn't I copy it? It's right there. Let's go back. Mover is null. Oh. That shouldn't be. All right, hold on. Wait a second. Are we registering this component? Let's go back to our object handler. We registered the movement component from the... Oh, wait, that's my bad, actually. Okay, we got the movement component from the mob. That's great. We have the movement component from the 14334354442. Also great. So this isn't correct. There is a mover that exists. It was registered. Like we see it. Oh, damn it. I thought I fixed that. Did I hallucinate fixing that? Invalid access to property or key mover on a base object of type node 2D. Right, it doesn't have a mover. We have to do this through the object handler. Dot get mover component. Non-existent something, something, blah, blah, blah. But it's not nil. Why is it still null? Wait. Okay, we have the movement component. It exists. Why is it a node 2D? It shouldn't be. It should actually be a character body 2D. Oh, no. The movement component is a character body 2D, but the player is a node 2D. Okay. Non-existent function. Is this taking in a string or an object? I should be taking in the object. Am I registering the wrong thing? Self get parent. This is the key and this is the value? Yeah, key. Okay, no, I didn't get that order backwards. No, in fact, let's just print mover component list. Just tell me what's in there. We got a 0 mob to the mover, and we got. Why is this a node 2D? Oh, no. This is a node 2D and it's connected to a mover. Okay. So we have the mover's there. The mover is there. Why is this not returning? Am I command param.actor? Who is command param.actor? Where is that coming from? Are we issuing an invalid actor? Print the actor. That's a different mover. Wait, the actor is a mover? That's not right. Let's go into our input handler. What are you telling me to do? The collider should be objects clicked on. Oh, that's not giving us the node. That's giving us the thing work. Okay, wait a second. Okay, target location command is the player. The player is a node. We're registering the player as the player. So the player should be the target move command, not the mover. I don't even know whose mover that is. It's not the player mover. That's a different thing. It shouldn't be a mover, and it shouldn't be that mover. We've registered a mover. Why did that happen? First of all, we can make this a node 2D. Not that one, this one. That can be a node 2D. That's perfectly fine. Let's go back to our mover component. Maybe we shouldn't be doing that registering here at all. Self get parent. Why is this taking 2 parameters? I thought it's only 1. Oh, okay. But where are we setting the input handler? Ah, this is the problem. Let's go ahead and cut that. Let's put that back in the player. Else there. We can create the color rect. That's fine. We can put that there. Non-existent function. Why is this still non-existent? I thought I fixed it. We registered the player. The input handler is getting the right thing now. The movement command should be containing the right dude. Where's this happening at? The actor is that's a player. Is that the correct player? That is the correct player. Okay, so the actor is correct. The mover looks correct. We're not looking at the mover yet. The mover is mover. The mover is null. Okay, let's go look at this. Nope, sorry, let's go look at the object handler. Did I do something wrong here? Get mover component. That shouldn't return null. Am I not registering it correctly? It looks like it's registered correctly. This guy, if we pass in this player, we should get this mover. That should be how it is. I don't see a typo. Why is the mover null? Get mover component command param underscore actor. Can we, okay, let's spawn this up and then let's go to our remote. Look at the object handler. We see it's a dictionary of size 2. Looks correct. The input handler has no player. Oh. Oh, could that be because we're looking at the, yeah, okay, never mind. So here, the object handler is empty. Right, because we're not setting up an object handler on the client. So the client, So this doesn't work because this isn't set up on the client. But how are we going to target the move graphic? Maybe we have to separate out the move graphic from the mover. And we put that in the player. So in the player, so we take this, oh my gosh, I can't get these sorted out. The target loc rect. These functions need to be separated out from the player. That can just be something that's intrinsic to the player, because only the player should have their target on screen. So I'm okay with doing this. Okay. And then we'll take all of this. Put it in the player. This should probably only happen if the target local rect exists. And then from here, we can also pilfer this actor setup, I think, is just setting up navigation. That can stay. This can stay. Maybe we don't need this anymore. And then we take this function and we just move it to the player. Okay, and I'm certain that that's not going to work, but let's see the error that we get. Non-existent function target. Yeah, okay. Command param.actor dot. We don't need this anymore. We don't need this anymore. Okay. I'm not sure how that's possible. Which player is moving? I'm sorry. I'm a little fuzzy on that. How many players do you see right now? Oh, you know what it is? It's because the camera is attached to this and not the mover. So the camera, so what we're seeing here, the player has a sprite, I believe. Maybe they don't have a sprite. So why are we seeing an extra sprite? Where's the sprite coming from? And this sprite. I don't know. Does this have... So the mover has a sprite, but nothing else has a sprite. So I'm not entirely sure, like, what the heck? But the mover should move the player. The mover should be responsible for moving the player. Not just itself, but... Can it do that? My planet needs me. Oh. Well, take care. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good one. Go back to the mover. Because the mover needs to make sure that the health bar and stuff also move, I guess. I don't know. Where's move and slide? Moves the body based on the velocity. If the body collides with another, can we... Okay, Godot make move and slide move parent. Okay, it does not inherently move from its parent node. Make that the root node. Um, Attach that script to a regular node and have it reference the character body 2D child node to call move and slide. The parent's position will still need to be adjusted by other means if it is not the physics body itself. What I could do is, so this is just the player. We can just editable children, slap this down. Slap this down. Can I move the health component into here, or will that break stuff? I think that will break stuff. So maybe I don't want to do that. No, I actually want my player position to be updated instead of, oh dear, what have I done? I need the health component. Oh, did I close Firefox? Well, this is where I crash out then. No, I goofed here. I might have to refactor a lot. Because I want the health component. The health component needs to be a child of the thing that's moving for the health bar to work. But I don't want to make this the mover because I'm trying to be able to share this with mobs, but maybe that's wrong. I actually need the mob to be the mover, and then I just have copy and paste code. And that's annoying, and I don't know. I guess that's what it has to be. I don't have the energy to do that. Done. I guess that's done. We'll get this next time. Get the mob moving, and then the mob will spawn. We'll have a mob spawn every like 5 minutes in a particular spot. We'll figure out how to do that. And then basic inventory. Oof. All right. Well, this is a mess. Let's just confirm. Did I click server? No. The problem is that this is not moving, the camera is not moving, and the point light is not moving. But we have created a mover. So oh well, figure that one out next time. Let me see who is streaming right now. Godot Game Dev. I like Godot Game Dev. How about that one? That looks like a stream. Okay. Alrighty. Next time we'll sort this out. We'll clean this up. We'll have some nice tidy code. Thanks for watching, y'all. Hope things were going well. Hope things are good for you. Play lots of games. See you all next time.